Good evening and welcome to another episode of Inside the FLX. I'm Josh Durso and we are coming to you from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls. Our guest today is the Seneca County Supervisor. Her name is Garlic-Lorenzetti, and she is here to give us a little update on some of the issues that are going on inside of the county, as well as some of the things to look forward to at the upcoming Board of Supervisors meeting, which is scheduled for this coming Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Cindy, thanks so much for stopping by.
Hi, Josh. Thank you very much for inviting me on, and I would like to say thank you not only to yourself, but to Jim and the wonderful crew here at Finger Lakes One. You guys do a great job keeping the public informed, and we're very grateful.
Well, thank you for that glowing review. So first off, let's start with the softball here. Talk to us a little bit about how you got into politics, what it's been like as you've served over the last few years, and what your outlook is going forward.
Okay. Well, first of all, my dad was really big in Seneca County politics. He was the Fayette Supervisor for a few years, and then he moved up the ranks and headed on to Albany, and he was the Deputy Commissioner of Ag and Markets. So I always knew kind of about politics growing up in my family, and honestly, I remember one thing about it. My dad always went to a lot of meetings and was never there. And trust me, if you do get into politics, it's a lot of phone calls and totally a lot of meetings. But I think I kind of got more involved. I started on the planning board, which I do want to put a plug in for planning boards and zoning boards of appeals to the towns, because they're very needed. And those people volunteer a lot of their time. And they basically structure and paint the picture of what your community is going to be. And they're very, very important. So I want to put a big shout out to all of them, especially the town of Fayette, Planning Board and ZBA. They all do a great job. Thank you.
So one of the biggest issues Seneca County has dealt with in the last year has been the Army Depot in Southern End. Talk to us a little bit about what it's been like being in your shoes, dealing with this issue and kind of seeing it grow and kind of come to a head at the last meeting.
Yes, that is a very huge issue, and it's going to be, first of all, it was sitting down at the table. I've been on the IDA now, the liaison for, this will be my second year, appointed there by the chairmen of the board. I, 4 or 5 years ago, was questioning a lot about the IDA and how they marketed themselves and how they held their meetings. And I'm like, well, if I want to make a change, I need to get on that IDA board and be the liaison. And I will tell you that it's been challenging, but also I appreciate how the IDAs have to work. And I was also educated on a lot of things that I wasn't aware of as a board member, that now I understand better as being part of that IDA board. I do want to give them credit, because I think that we have tried to bridge our gap that we've had. Public hearings are now held at night so people can attend. We have kind of like a term limit thing, so nobody's going to be on there forever and ever. We also, once there were a couple openings, went out and advertised and actually had people with resumes that came in, and the full IDA board was able to interview. So all those things that people may think aren't, oh yeah, well, big deal, but little steps in politics and in change. It doesn't happen overnight, and as long as you can move forward, then I always think progress is being made, and I think there has been progress made.
So, make a good segue right there. Progress being made, slow process, the bid process for the depot. That's closed now. Just give us an update, or what of an update you can give us on where things stand right now with that.
Well, I'll be honest with you. There were 58 bids, I think, that people solicited for, and now just 16. So that's quite a difference than what people actually applied into. The bid process was something that the IDA board sat down and were like, how are we going to do this in the most fair way possible to everyone out there that may have a plan for this depot? And we all sat down together and we came up with, we'll just have people apply. Apply with bids, and we'll take a look at the end. We'll have a process that we go through. And then when the Board of Supervisors, Steve wanted us to kind of halt that process And then we have the White Deer and Dennis money issue. It was not fair to the rest of the public that we had started the process and that we wouldn't complete that process. And that's why I stood firm on my vote at both the Board of Supervisors level and the IDA board level to let the process continue.
That was the tipping point for you, right? That was the thing that really made you feel compelled to take that stance, was just letting the process fully play out, right?
Correct. I didn't think it was right. Number one, I didn't think it was right that the county take it over, and thank God the county board decided not to, because if you want to talk about a political agenda, there's 14 of us there, and politics would have definitely come into play. Not that politics isn't into everything, because it is, but not at the magnitude that it is at the Board of Supervisors. Yep. So for us to take it over would not have been the right thing to do. And then when they asked if we could stop the process or allow the town of Varick and Dennis money to be able to get a section of the depot without letting the whole process continue, would not have been fair to the people that have already applied and have already gotten into filling out the application and actually putting a proposal forth. It was the only fair thing to do to keep it going that way.
So that was one of the last meeting was incredibly well attended. I mean, you guys had a crowd there like I don't think I had ever personally seen.
Correct.
Where did that rank for you?
Yes, you're right up there. Yeah.
So what sort of what did that tell you about the issue or about the issues that have been sort of taking place in Seneca County? More turnout is a trend in most of these board meetings across the county. So what does that tell the supervisor? What does that put in your guys' mind?
Well, that night, yes, it was probably one of the biggest nights that I've ever seen people come into attendance and try to plead their case or give us their concerns, which everyone, that's what we live in, the land of the free. Yep. Everyone is always invited to come to any board meeting and voice their concerns. I think that people have a topic and they got onto the White Deer topic and thought that this process, for some reason, was not going to include anything for the White Deer. And that, in fact, we don't know until we open the 16 bids. We know that the town of Varick and Dennis money has put their offer in, and if they have a good proposal, who's to say that the IDA is not going to look at that? Yeah. The IDA has stood firm and said it's not about the money, it's about the proposals that come in. And what that proposal will do for the community. Will it generate jobs? Will it keep to the environment? Will it be part of the landscape that we have here already? So there's a lot of criteria and issues that we're going to look at. Yep. It's not going to be the money. And now I do want to say this one thing, because I don't know if it's been presented, if it's been told enough, but had the county board taken it over, according to legal people that are involved, the IDA does not have to take the largest bid for the property, where the county board would have had to been under obligation and legalities, where we would have had to take the highest bid. So we wouldn't have been able to do some of the criteria legally that the IDA board can do.
So speaking of multiple boards, that was one issue that was raised during that meeting, was your presence on two boards in Seneca County, the IDA as well as the Board of Supervisors. A couple people tried to make a case that shouldn't be. That was debunked that was obviously debunked. But just I wanted to sort of get your take on how that felt in your shoes. Honestly,
I was pretty good, because I did bite my tongue a little bit. But I think that the reason that happened, I mean, they've had board members, county board members, that have sat on IDAs for a long, long time now. It didn't just start with Cindy Lorenzetti. However, I think that night they didn't want my vote to be counted, because I have quite a large vote. I have the highest vote at the county level with, I think, 89. Yep. And it was going to be a tight vote, and they probably wanted to see me not be included. So that was part of their strategy, and I guess that if I had been on the flip side, I probably maybe would have tried the same thing, but didn't get too far. So
obviously the Army Depot is not the only issue impacting people living here in Seneca County. Seneca Meadows and Finger Lakes Rail have had a great deal of pressure, public outcry associated with them. Walk us through what your take is on potential expansion by the landfill or by Seneca Meadows, and where you sort of fall into that entire debate.
Okay. Well, the county, unfortunately, Seneca County doesn't have a lot of say as what's going to happen at Seneca Meadows. We can do everything that we can do, which I think this board is doing, and I feel that for the most part we're unified. We've hired legal counsel, environmentally attorneys that specialize in that. So the board has agreed, and we all did come up, to spend the money to do that. But again, I hate to throw it back at the town of Seneca Falls, but this is where it all lies. You guys have a lot of responsibility here, and you have a lot of accountability here. And if anybody's probably got the bigger fight, it's Seneca Falls over the county. It doesn't say that we won't reach out and help them in any way we can. And as a county board member, I will say that I don't think that the landfill should expand past 2023. I'll do anything I can at the county level to prevent that. Not to say that the landfill is what it is. One thing I can say that I've really been thoughtful of over the depot issue, and I don't want to go back to that, but I want to give a comparison, is that I think that the people that were on the board 20, 30 years ago, whenever the landfill came to be, I wonder if they could look toward the future and fast forward and see what happened with their vote. And that's what I'm trying to think about at the depot. The future. And 20, 30 years ago, they probably thought this is a great thing. It's going to help the town of Seneca Falls, the village of Seneca Falls, right? Excuse me, sorry.
Village town.
Right. Look at what we can do with all that money, and look at all the progress we can make. They did infrastructure, and I just think, had they been able to look in that ball and see what 30 years would bring, would the vote been the same way? Because I doubt it. I hope they would say no, we wouldn't have done that. So I just think that when we're on a board and we have huge votes and decisions that need to be taken, such as what will be at the depot, we have to really be thoughtful of that. Yeah.
So 3 legislators at the state level, Nizzolio, Coben, Palmisano, all weighed in on the Seneca Meadows issue and issued a joint statement and essentially said that there wasn't much they could do as long as they were operating within the legal parameters of the business and operating permits, et cetera. Where do you come down? A lot of people have been critical of that statement, saying that it's a little soft. It didn't go quite far enough. There is a lot they can do. Sort of give us your take on that.
Well, I think that at that level, any legislator can always do more. Legal issues do pop up, and unfortunately, sometimes they tie our hands as to where we can go. But I do believe that issues that bring about such attention and voter concerns and dilemmas for areas and people, that's when the legislatures need to go to the meetings, and they need to show their face, and they need to say, hey, we can't do this or this, but here's what we can do, and here's what we want you to know. We want you to know that we're here for you. We take the good and the bad. And I don't understand how they always want to go wherever there's an opening. I get it, where things happen that are good, and they had a role in it, and they want to take part in that, and that's great, but you better be there for your people when the chips are down, because that's part of it too. And I think that they could come on a little bit better, and just to come to some of the meetings would be a start. A
step in the right direction.
Yeah.
So business development is always, obviously you're on the IDA, so you know that's an important piece of the whole puzzle. What do you think is what's the balance, or what's the combination? Because it seems like Seneca County and a lot of other counties in the area are sort of walking through this process of trying to figure out what they're supposed to do, or what the balance is between industry that isn't quite as desirable, like a Seneca Meadows or like a Crestwood down in Schuyler County, compared to really hammering away at the tourism engine that seems to be driving itself up a really big mountain.
Well, I totally believe that industry should complement the landscape where it's going to be. As far as business coming into any county, I seriously think that New York State needs to first be a little friendlier to businesses coming in, and that would be large and small businesses. We spend so much money on the unfunded state mandates that they pass down to us, and I hate to be there and say this, but if we could take some of the money away from Medicaid and social services and offer it to the business part of the sector, this state would be in much better shape.
Well, doesn't that also kind of open up a conversation about taxes as well? I mean,
Yes.
on the tax front, there certainly needs to be a reduction of,
Exactly. We're not business friendly in this state. And now the governor, and I've spoke against, he's a Democratic governor, but there's things that he's trying to do now that I don't totally agree with. And, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, that's going to hurt a lot of businesses. It's going to hurt a lot of small businesses.
That was going to be my next question. What in your shoes, as somebody who sees sort of you kind of see all the businesses happening at once, what do you think what is that going to do to businesses when that actually takes place?
Well, I think it's going to hurt a lot of the smaller businesses, and it's going to, they'll have to pass it along to us, the consumer, and then we're going to be paying more, and it's just, it's going to have a domino effect, and I just don't feel that it was the right thing to do at this time, and I think that if he wanted to, tour around and try to do something better for the state, should have looked at maybe the Medicaid social services part of the big bill that hits New York State.
Mm-hmm. So one of the really positive things that has come out of the last year and a half, 2 years is the Lago Resort and Casino. Now, as of today, Del Lago Resort and Casino. What do you think the casino what will the resort do for Seneca County from your perspective?
Okay, well, first of all, it's going to create jobs. Mm-hmm. I'm not even going to go the 18 to 1,200. I can just say I know it's going to create a lot of jobs. I'm not even going to throw the big numbers out there. Yeah. Okay, and this is what Seneca County needs. We need jobs. I don't care if it's only 500. It's jobs. People need to work. Guys and women need to have jobs.
To be fair, even if it did employ only 500, wouldn't that rank it towards the top of one of the largest employers in Seneca County alone?
Yes,
right?
it would.
Okay.
Even if it was only 500, I still would have been a strong supporter. Okay. I would have not wavered it. Whatever jobs that can be created in this county need to be created. And if Lago is going to be it paints a picture of the landscape that we have. It fits into the tourism industry, and it's going to bring people here. They're going to visit the wineries. They're going to go to the restaurants.
So what do you say then to the, I'll say it's a smaller contingency of people now that are saying this, but that they're only going to go to the casino and that's going to be the end of the line?
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. And probably those small group of people that are saying that are the small group of people that are being funded by the Oneida Indian Nation. Okay, and when we say small group, yeah, 20 people, maybe.
Okay. So as far as being on the IDA and being on the Board of Supervisors, what was the big challenge for you guys, or what were some of the challenges you guys faced through that entire process of getting it to where it is now? They're saying it should open by February of next year, roughly. What has that looked like for you guys to this point?
I think that they're saying February, and I think that they're going to probably be pretty much on target. Yep. The one thing that I want to say, and I'm glad that you brought up about Lago, is this. Lawsuit upon lawsuit upon lawsuit. Are you kidding me? Yeah. And the thing is, I think I wrote you an email a while ago about the deal that Andrew Cuomo's father cut with the Indian Nation way back when. Yes. And wiped out the millions of dollars of debt that they never paid New York State. Yep. Now, he was able to negotiate a deal. Whether you think it's right or wrong, I don't think it was a great deal, but it was a deal, and it was negotiated, and it was all agreed upon. Mm-hmm. Now they're coming back on the deal that they agreed upon. Yeah. And then other people, because they've got tons of money, because they've been the only player in town, so they can hire all their fancy-dancy lawyers. It's not fair to the other people. Lago, it's not fair to the town of Tyre. And my thing on this is, if I was the governor, I would say, just like NFL football, I think they get 2 chances to be able to replay a play, right? And they better be good chances, because you only have 2 of them. So you had 2 chances to go and sue. And if both of them fell to the floor, you're done. The game's over.
So what do you, as far as like, and I've asked this about pretty much, I've asked everyone this that has vocalized being a supporter of the Lago. It's like, what do you see 5-10 years from now, as far as, because I can't imagine that, say, that 1 or 2 mile radius around where Lago is going now. I can't imagine it looking anything like it does now, 10 years from now, with the number of people who are going to be breaching that exit off the throughway.
I agree. But it's an area where you're between 2 throughway exits. Are we going to get more? We're going to get probably some more restaurants up there.
Yep.
We may get added on to the outlet, or there may be other malls that come into play there. And what does that mean? It means tax relief to the people of Seneca County.
Mm-hmm. Increasing the tax base, right?
Correct. And decreasing their taxes.
Yeah. So, and that's one thing everyone can get on board with, because that has been one, you talk about the Seneca Meadows issue, that has been one hang up with a lot of people, is that there are people who say that, or who argue that financially property taxes would take a hit throughout the area. So what is, like you said, you have one of the largest areas to serve. What is sort of the common issue that your constituents are bringing to you or voicing to you?
In the town of Fayette?
In the town of Fayette, yeah.
I've had a good group of town of Fayette residents that have fought for the Cayuga Indian Nation things with the taxes for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. And they've held strong, the UCE. They've held strong, the Citizens Advisory Committee, and they've kept plugging away. And I am very dedicated into trying to see this through. I know it takes time, and I know that we were there a couple, 18 months ago. We were at the Supreme Court level, and this is a terrible, terrible thing to a lot of my people and a lot of the people in this county, that we had a law firm that dropped the ball right on the 5-yard line, okay, which would have been hair speech. And I am very, very determined to be able to get that back to where we were. And there's tons of people in my town that feel hair speech should pay for that. So and I just want you to know I'm still working on that.
Okay, so speaking to that a little more, because I think that's one thing that with the Seneca Meadows and the Lago and all of the other issues that have kind of blanketed the Indian problems, or the Indian issues, have kind of taken a back seat, as hard to imagine as that might be.
Yeah, I agree.
Talk to us about where all of that stands right now, for the people who haven't really seen that much of it.
We're back in the process of trying to get back to where we were 18 months ago at that 5-yard line. We have a new legal firm, and we basically have to start from square one and head back up.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what would be...
Which we have done, and we're probably maybe a little more than halfway through the process.
Yep. But like you said, it isn't something that's going to happen overnight.
No, we're plugging away at it. We're plugging away at it. And that's why the people, and myself included, were very upset when that happened.
Mm-hmm. So what... outside of that, at the county level, what is the one issue that you think every single person should care about across the board, whether you live at the southernmost part of this county or the northernmost part? What should be that number one priority, number one concern? If you can name just one. If you want to name two, name two.
It's hard to name just one. I think everybody in this county should be concerned about where we're headed and what direction you want this county to go into. Mm-hmm. Everybody, not just exclusively to this county, but we need to be mindful of the tax base and the tax rate for the people. And we also need to be reminded of our environment and how to protect it.
Mindful of the vision. That is what I keep hearing over and over and over again. Mindful of the vision.
And the thing about, I don't want to get into the Crestwood deal because I don't know as much about it as Steve Churchill does.
Yep.
But I've been, trying to fight that fight too. And you don't mess with a body of water, a fresh body of water like that, even to take a chance. And you just leave it alone and you let it try to get itself clean again. Because if you ever go and listen to this Halftown from Hobart, he's very, very good Our lake is already compromised. Seneca Lake is already not in a great state. For us to even think of putting anything there that would damage it even further is craziness.
It has, I believe it has one of the highest salinity rates of the entire Finger Lakes,
Yes.
if not the highest salinity
Yes.
rate. To that end, how do you guys sort of use issues like that aren't necessarily right in your wheelhouse or right in your home rule, so to speak?
Right.
But you guys have to pay attention to some degree to those issues, right?
We have to
Because
pay attention because that's where we get our drinking water.
Yeah.
And if you want to pay attention, and I don't want to, look at the poor people in Flint, Michigan.
Yeah.
Terrible, terrible, terrible. The people in office knew about it. They tried to save money.
Yeah.
And you just don't mess with water. You don't play around with water.
So we are 5 days now, I believe. Yeah, 5 days away from the meeting. What is your word of encouragement to get people out to attend that meeting?
Which meeting is that?
The board meeting coming up on Tuesday.
Well, I always want people to come to board meetings because the thing about it, one of the things you have to do is this. If you're not happy with the way things are going, you need to get involved. And you need to come and you need to get on the agenda and you need to speak.
Yeah.
Because I will tell you one thing, as a county board member and as a town of Fayette board member, when those same groups keep coming again and again and again, and you're not making any changes, that's not good for you.
Yeah, it sends a message.
It sends a message, and we need to be held accountable. And you people have to keep us accountable.
Yeah. All right, well, we appreciate you coming on and wish you the best of luck with everything moving forward.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us today. I'd like to thank Cindy for stopping by. And as always, the latest news, updates, and podcasts are just a click or a touch away on the Finger Lakes One app, available on Apple and Android devices. For Cindy Lorenzetti, I'm Josh Durso, reminding you to join us next time on another episode of Inside the FLX.